All right, before we move on to the second declension, we're going to look at the genitive case. So this is the possessive in English. So we might say the dog's collar, or we could say the collar of the dog. Both basically mean the same thing, and that's the genitive case, possessive. So we have the genitive singular and plural we can work with. So in this example, Victoria Mariae is using that AE ending on Mariae, and we can see that that's the genitive ending singular. So that would mean of Mary, the victory of Mary, or we could say Mary's victory. Another example, Gloria Nautarum. That's ARUM, arum ending, and that's genitive plural. That's the genitive plural on the noun sailors. So this would mean the glory of the sailors, or the sailor's glory. So that's pretty simple. Just a couple exercises here, 8 and 9 on page 16. Now we're going to move on to lesson 2, the second declension. So this first declension, as we know, is mostly feminine. The second declension is mostly masculine, and we're going to have some neuter nouns. We're going to start with the masculine nouns. This is on page 17. So our model noun is servus servi, which means slave or servant. So the genitive ending with the I with the macron tells us this is a second declension noun. And the nominative ending, us, tells us it's masculine because the neuter nominative ending is um. So us tells us it's masculine. We also get to add a conjunction, et, which means and. And that means we can have compound sentences now. Something interesting about et, that actually evolved into our ampersand. We can see in this picture how the ampersand sort of evolved from the word et. Oh, I always think that's interesting. So let's look at some examples. So, Christiani filium Dei laudant. So that first word, Christians, that's the Christians. Filium Dei, Son, and Dei of God, they praise. So Christiani is nominative plural. So it's the subject. That is a second declension masculine noun, and it's plural. So it's the subject. Filium is the direct object, has that ending, so we can look over at the right, we can see it's the accusative second declension ending. And Dei could be either genitive singular or nominative plural. We don't know the difference yet, except that we already have a nominative noun that was at the beginning of the sentence. So we're going to assume that this is the genitive. And also there's not more than one God, right? So that's another reason we know that it's singular. So this sentence then works out to the Christians praise the Son of God. Laudant is they praise. So another example, we're going to go now from English to Latin. The sailors do not praise the victory of the slaves. So who or what is this sentence about? It's about the sailors. And that is nautai in Latin. That's first declension, nominative plural. We've got the AE ending, so we know that that makes it plural. And what is being said about the sailors? The sailors do not praise. So the verb is praise. That not is going to be an adverb. So non laudant, because they praise is laudant. The sailors praise who? The sailors praise what? Now, be careful, because the answer is not the slaves. They're not praising the slaves. They're praising the victory. They're praising the victory. So that's victoriam. That's the am ending, which makes it accusative. That's the direct object. That's a first declension noun. And whose victory? The victory of the slaves, or the slaves' victory. Servorum. That's the plural. That's a second declension noun, and it's genitive, orum, as we can see on the chart on the right. So, to put it all together, nautae victoriam servorum non laudant. Nautae victoriam servorum non laudant. The sailors don't praise the victory of the slaves. Let's diagram that. So first this is just like English diagramming. It's going to look a slight bit different than it does in the book, but basically the same. So we start with our line, then we put our noun on the left and our verb on the right, sailors and praise, and then we have a direct object, victoriam, and then we have a modifier for victoriam, which is the possessive adjective, noun possessive adjective. So servorum, the slaves' victory. Whose victory? The slaves' victory. And servorum is the adjective modifying victoriam, whose victory. Possessive noun adjective. And then we also have a modifier on laudant, the non. They do not praise. So for this section, we've got exercises 11 through 14 on pages 18 through 20.